What up, ladies and gentlemen? Still Broke Podcast. You know who it is. on the mic. Let's get it kicked off. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin and their situation at quarterback. Now, I feel like before we ever get into a Mike Tomlin, we have to always go out and say, listen, I love me some Mike T. I love me some Mike T. But that doesn't mean he's above any criticism. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers right now are without a quarterback. They have a receiver. They traded for a receiver, signed him for 5 years, $150 million, but they don't have anybody to throw him or George Pickens the ball to. So DK Metcalf, GP in the building, but no quarterback. What are the Steelers doing right now? What is Mike T doing right now? So let me get this straight. And I will say this. I was never a guy, I never liked the Justin Fields, Russell Wilson combination in Pittsburgh because I always said this. Both of them, in my opinion, are 1 of 32, which means they should be a starter somewhere, and one of them is not going to get to play. And I never liked that situation. It was always a good situation for Pittsburgh because they had 2 starters for no money, but for those 2, it never worked out. So let's get this straight. So you decide to go with Russell Wilson to not re-sign Russell Wilson. So when you get Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, you got to figure out, okay, what is our plan? What is our future? What are we going to do? All right. So you got to look at it and say, we got a young guy at the time who's 25 years old. So do we have the guy for the next 10 years or not? We got to figure that out. What Pittsburgh decided to do was say, do we have the guy for the next 1 year in Russell Wilson? And not figure out if you have the guy for the next 10 years. Now, if your preference was always to re-sign Justin Fields, which you didn't do, you messed around and didn't do that. If that was your preference, then you should have played him last year, all right, and not worry about the pick you would have lost in Chicago, going up to a 4th-round pick, and find out, hey, is he the guy or not? Because worst case scenario, if he's not the guy, you're in the same situation you are now. If he is the guy, you know you have the guy for the next decade, and they're going to cost you some money because quarterbacks cost money. That's just what it is. So instead, Pittsburgh said, you know what? Let me not play the young guy. Let me not find out. Let me play the older guy. And again, Russ didn't have a bad year. But let me play the older guy with less runway, knowing I have no intention on signing him later on. Okay? If the decision was such a good decision to play Russ instead of Justin Fields, then you would have re-signed him right away if you thought he was a guy. Well, guess what? It didn't work. It worked for one game against the New York Jets, and you got to pat yourself on the back. And the New York Jets were terrible. They were 5-12, okay? So it worked for one game against the New York Jets, and then it didn't work after that. Because if it worked, then Russell Wilson would be a Pittsburgh Steeler right now. Now, that's still up in the air, but right now he isn't. So the preference was to sign Justin Fields. Why? Because he's younger, he's more athletic, he has a lot more upside, a lot more runway to go, okay? Again, he was 25, just turned 26, 25 during the season. So you're looking, we got possibly 8 to 10 years of runway here. Okay, if this is our franchise guy. But not only did you not get to find out, but you didn't sign him because you were messing around with the money. You wanted him at the Pittsburgh Steelers price, which is such the Pittsburgh way. Such the Pittsburgh way. You want everything at your price. You do not want to move forward offensively. You talk about how Lamar Jackson is being Lamar. I'm not saying Justin Fields is Lamar Jackson. Don't get it twisted, okay? I'm not saying that. When we talk about players that are very similar and have similar skill sets, Justin Fields is in that conversation. After all, when we talk about guys, he was the second fastest guy to reach 5,000 passing yards and 2,000 rushing yards. He was the second fastest. To whom, you may ask? That would be Lamar Jackson. So Michael Vick didn't do it before him. Josh Allen didn't do it before him. Any other dual threat guy didn't do it before him. And Justin played under horrendous situations in Chicago. Neither here nor there. Not going to get into that. We'll talk about that another time. But the issue is, what is Pittsburgh doing right now? What is your plan? What was the point? You totally wasted a season playing around with musical QBs. If you had no intention of re-signing Russell Wilson, at some point you had to think to yourself, we're not going to re-sign him. Well, then you move on and you see what the young guy can do. After all, what are you going to do? Lose in the first round of the playoffs? There's no way in your head you thought after losing 4 games going into the playoffs in a row that you thought, oh, we're going to win a Super Bowl. There's no way you thought that. There is no way. And if you are, you're delusional. You need to be tested because I was just playing dumb. I don't believe I get it, but there is no way you thought that was going to happen. So at some point, you had to play the young guy. And if that was your guy, if that was a guy you preferred, again, you get him reps and then you sign him early. You do not mess around and let him go test the market. Go test the market for what? If you like him and he's your guy, then you go sign him. The contract that 2 years, $40 million, $30 million guaranteed, that is no money for a quarterback. That is zero money. That is a bargain for a quarterback. To pay a quarterback $20 million a year is chump change in the NFL. The Steelers can afford that. To not match that deal, to not give him guaranteed money, to not give him any kind of insurance in the second year of the contract. After all, you just benched the guy. Now, some may say he was always brought in to be the backup. Doesn't matter. When I start 6 games, when I give you 4-2, when I give you 10 touchdowns and 1 turnover, when I give you all that, I deserve to keep going. Okay? Now, I may not have been lights out, but the guy you replaced me with wasn't lights out, which is why you didn't re-sign him. So again, I don't understand Pittsburgh's plan right here. I have no idea what they're doing. I have no idea what Mike T is thinking. You have 0 quarterback. So now what are we going to do? Move over to Aaron Rodgers? Okay, how much runway does he have? Listen, I'm not saying that I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is better than Russell Wilson. At their height, of course he is. Aaron Rodgers is better than Russell Wilson. But today, how much better is Aaron Rodgers than Russell Wilson? And if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, okay, let's say you get Aaron Rodgers. Do you think your team is Super Bowl ready? You're mediocre at O-line. He can't move. He's coming off. He should be better this year with his Achilles injury. Should be better. But you're coming off that. Okay, your O-line is suspect. They're young, but hopefully they'll mature. Okay, your running game, you got B running backs. Listen, you let Najee Harris go. I'm not a huge Najee Harris guy, but to sign Kenneth Gainwell, so you replace one B quarterback for a C plus, one B running back for a C plus running back? That was your plan? Like what? And yeah, you trade for DK Metcalf. I like the move. I like getting DK in there with Pickens, but you sign him right away for 5 years, $150, but you can't give your quarterback $20 million a year for 2 years? And you don't have anybody to throw to him? So again, if you get Aaron Rodgers, okay, how long is the runway? 1 year? 2 years? 1 year, 2 years? That's it? What are you doing? And then where do you find yourself? Back in the same situation that you are now. So you have to bank on that Aaron Rodgers is going to win your Super Bowl, because if he doesn't, you're back in no man's land as far as the draft is concerned. You're not going to be able to find a quality quarterback, and you're sitting here looking for guys on the street, just like you are now. Instead of trying to find out, hey, do we have a guy in the locker room that could be an answer for the next 7, 8, 9, 10 years? Do we have that guy? Well, you had a chance to figure it out, Pittsburgh, and you didn't do it. And for what? Was the above 500 record that important to you? Really? Because now you're in some you know what. So at this point, if you're Pittsburgh, if I'm them, again, I don't love Russ. I mean, he's a good player. I don't hate Russ. I still think he's 1 of 32. I still think so. Just re-sign Russ. Why not? His runway is longer than Aaron Rodgers right now. It is. Aaron doesn't even know if he wants to play. Okay? You sign Aaron for 1 to 2 years, maybe. He'll be, 42, 43? Russ is he'll be 37 next year. If he plays the same length of time as Aaron Rodgers, you got more runway with Russ. You just really do. So at this point, he knows the system. He's been in a locker room. Okay? Just re-sign him. Because that makes the most sense based off of what you did all year. Playing Russell Wilson and playing him as many games and sitting Justin Fields down. And again, I'm not sitting here saying I'm not beating down the door for Justin Fields right now. That's not what I'm doing. I am a Justin Fields guy. I still think there's something there. As time continues to go, I know it doesn't look as good. I am just saying this. Based on the moves you made, If your whole plan was to sign Justin Fields and move forward with him all along, you should have played him to figure out if this is the plan or not. If this is the plan. And then therefore, we're not guessing on the money. We either know, listen, we're going to pay you this because you've earned it, or B, we're not going to pay you this because we don't know. Instead of saying, well, we don't know because we didn't play you, but we're not going to sign the other guy that played in front of you. So now we don't know what the hell we're doing in Pittsburgh. We have no clue whatsoever. So now the locker room, which from what I hear, wanted to re-sign Justin Fields for the most part. The ownership wanted to re-sign Justin Fields for the most part. Okay. They're looking around like, okay, what are we going to do now? As much as we all like Aaron Rodgers as a future Hall of Famer he is, nobody is getting super excited for that signing right now. Because the time frame in which it happens. We have 1 year, maybe 2. And listen, they are not a quarterback away from winning a Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not that. And that's the issue that you run into. On top of that, let's get into the semantics of it. Arthur Smith, does he like to throw the ball over the yard? Nope. Is he a conservative guy? Yep. Does he like to run the football? Yep. Is Aaron Rodgers like that? Nope. Does Aaron Rodgers like to control everything? Yep. How is that gonna work out? How? And if you're not throwing the ball over the yard, then guess who's gonna be upset? But not only Aaron Rodgers, but guess who? DK, George Pickens. What are we doing? Like, I expect Mike T and the Pittsburgh Steelers to operate better than this. Now, maybe they got some rabbit they can pull out of their hat. Maybe they do. I don't know. I have no idea. But right now, the way it looks, they totally fumbled this situation. Okay. Again, I'm not saying Justin Fields is a top 10 guy. I don't know if he is. The guy has been in every bad situation possible since he's been in the NFL. Okay. Now, does he have some highlights that are the highest of highs? Yes, he does. Does he have some lowlights that are lowest? Yes, he does. So I don't know. The guy has never been in a situation where they wrapped his arms around him. Okay, he's been from defensive coach to defensive coach to defensive coach. I don't even know if going to the Jets is going to be great. So I have no idea. Does he have skill? Yes. Was he the number one player in college football, in high school football? Yes. Did he outplay your golden boy Trevor Lawrence in a playoff game, Ohio State and Clemson? Yes. Is he 6'3", 220, 4'3", big arm? Yes. Did guys have career years with him? DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet? Yes. Those are all yeses. So all those things have happened. So is there something there? Yes. How much? I don't know. But if Pittsburgh was serious about signing this kid, which they should have found out, what I'm saying is this. You had to find out last year, is he the future or not? Because you knew Russell Wilson was not. If Russell wasn't your future, you had to figure out who was. And you had a 25-year-old quarterback sitting there with immense raw talent. Immense talent. You had to find out. The simple fact that you let him go without finding out, without playing him enough to find out if he was your guy, and then wanted to re-sign him, didn't re-sign him, let him go somewhere else. You don't re-sign Russ at the moment and are still looking for a quarterback. It's just, it is not like a Pittsburgh Steelers Mike Tomlin team. Now, again, maybe they got a rabbit they can pull out their hat, and we'll see what happens. But right now, I don't see it. So, Pittsburgh fans, I get it, man. If you pissed off, you know what? I understand. I get it. We'll find out who you got coming up, but you got to figure out something because this is an all-time blunder by Pittsburgh. They totally fumbled this. They fumbled this whole situation, and now we're going to see what Mike T is going to do. Because they keep saying the standard is the standard, but what is the standard at this point? Because right now the standard is making the playoffs and being over 500 and then losing. That's the standard right now. I don't know what other standard you're talking about, but that's the standard that you're going for right now. And if that's the standard, then you're doing a good job of heading there again. Plain and simple. Don't forget to like and subscribe. MM, Still Broke Podcast. We out of here. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.